April 1, 2006, Columbus, Ohio. A medical student named Brian Shaffer walks into a bar with his friends to celebrate the start of spring break. Security cameras catch him entering. Not one camera catches him leaving. And 20 years later, in March 2026, something is finally happening in this case for the first time in years. Welcome to Case File Unknown. Today we open the full file on Brian Shaffer, the most baffling disappearance in Ohio history, and we bring you the brand new 2026 developments that nobody is talking about yet. Brian Randall Shaffer was born on February 11, 1979 in Pickerington, Ohio. He was the oldest of two sons born to Randy and Renee Shaffer. By every account, Brian was the kind of person who made a room lighter just by walking into it. He was smart, warm, and deeply loved by everyone around him. He had a Pearl Jam tattoo on his left arm. He was 6'2". He dreamed of becoming a doctor and secretly planned to propose to his girlfriend Alexis Wagner on an upcoming trip to Miami. But the weeks before that night had been painful. Just 3 weeks earlier, Brian's mother Renee had lost her battle with myelodysplasia, a blood cancer. It hit the family hard. Brian was grieving, but he kept showing up. He kept studying. That was the kind of man Brian was. On the evening of March 31, 2006, Brian had a steak dinner with his father Randy. His father later said Brian seemed exhausted, but okay, they talked about his mother. They talked about the future. After dinner, Brian met his roommate Clint Florence and they went bar hopping in Columbus's campus district. Their final stop of the night was the ugly Tuna Saloona at 1546 North High Street. The three of them, Brian, Clint, and their friend Meredith Reed, were captured on security cameras entering the bar at 1:15 in the morning. At 1:55 a.m., Brian stepped outside briefly. Cameras caught him speaking with two young women near the entrance. He appeared relaxed, calm, chatting easily. Then he stepped back inside. At a.m., Clint and Meredith were ready to leave. They searched the bar for Brian. He was gone. They called his phone. Voicemail. They assumed he had walked home. He had not. Brian Shaffer was never seen again. His girlfriend Alexis called every day that weekend. No answer. On Monday morning, Brian did not show up for his flight to Miami. That is when his family knew something was terribly wrong. Columbus police launched an immediate investigation. What followed stunned investigators. The ugly Tuna Saloona had security cameras covering its main entrance, a manual camera and a wide-angle panning camera. 3 other bars surrounding the building also had cameras. A construction site nearby had cameras. Columbus, Ohio in 2006 had more video surveillance coverage than Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Toledo combined. Every single piece of footage was reviewed. Brian Shaffer was seen entering the bar. Not one frame showed him leaving. Investigators searched the bar from top to bottom, crawl spaces, the roof, maintenance areas, a service door at the back, every inch, nothing. His apartment was untouched. His car was in the lot. His bank account showed zero activity. His phone went silent. Retired Columbus Police Detective John Hurst was one of the original investigators. In March 2026, he spoke publicly about the case for the first time in years, as he writes a book to clear up 2 decades of myths and misinformation. Hurst said he believes Brian did leave the bar. He said investigators conducted an intense search of the entire building and found nothing to suggest Brian remained inside. But if he walked out, where did he go? And why did no camera anywhere capture him? Let us talk about the people who were there that night. Clint Florence, Brian's roommate and closest friend, was the last person confirmed to have seen Brian inside the bar. When investigators asked Florence to take a polygraph test, he refused. He was never charged with anything. Police never publicly named him as a suspect, but his refusal to cooperate has haunted this case for 20 years. Brian's brother Derek Shaffer issued a statement in March 2026 on the 20th anniversary. He said there is not a day that goes by that he does not think about Brian. He said he believes someone out there knows what happened and he hopes one day they will step up. Then there were the 2 women. Security footage caught Brian speaking with 2 unidentified women outside the bar at 1:55 a.m. These were the last people confirmed to have interacted with Brian before he vanished. They were never identified. They were never asked to take a polygraph. In March 2026, something changed. Columbus-based true crime podcast True Crime Garage released a 6-part deep dive series on Brian Shaffer's disappearance. After the series aired, their inbox flooded with messages. Most were what the hosts expected. One was not. On February 27, 2026, the hosts posted publicly that they had received a tip-in like any they had ever seen in years of working this case. They described it as precise, containing specific timeline references, specific names, details that aligned with information the podcast team had deliberately withheld from the public. Researcher Kelly Bruce brought this tip directly to the Columbus Police Department. The detective she spoke with told her something that had never been made public before. His unit had been given the same name by a friend of Brian Shaffer's shortly after the disappearance in 2006. The same name, from 2 completely separate sources, 20 years apart. That name has not been released publicly, but investigators and researchers now confirm it is being actively reviewed. There is more. It has now been revealed for the first time that for a full month after Brian disappeared, his phone was still transmitting a signal. Mobile phone company Singular was able to use triangulation to trace Shaffer's phone to various successive locations over that period. Based on that phone data and the address of the person of interest at the time of the disappearance, police homed in on a house near Lane Avenue in Columbus. They obtained a search warrant. They dug into the floor of the home's basement in an area that appeared to have been recently disturbed. They found an old fuel oil tank. Nothing else, but the fact that this level of investigation happened and was never made public until 2026 has left both investigators and the public with serious new questions. In March 2026, NBC for Columbus aired a full 1-hour special dedicated to the 20th anniversary of Brian's disappearance. Retired FBI agent Harry Trombitis, who worked the case, went on camera and said that even decades later, cases like this can break open because relationships change, memories resurface, and the right tip comes from the most unexpected place. He said he appreciates whoever put the surveillance video back out on social media because it gets people talking and just the right person may see it. He said hopefully eventually we can bring Brian home. Brian Shaffer's girlfriend Alexis Wagner graduated from medical school. She became a doctor. She has never stopped talking about Brian publicly. She once said she kept calling his phone every night just to hear it ring because it was one of the best sounds she had ever heard. His father Randy searched for Brian for 2 years while grieving the loss of his wife. In September 2008, a tree fell on Randy Shaffer during a windstorm at his home. He died instantly. He never found out what happened to his son. Think about that. A father lost his wife to cancer. 3 weeks later, he lost his son to an unexplained disappearance. He spent every day after searching for answers, and he died without ever getting them. Brian Shaffer was legally declared dead in 2021, but his case file remains officially open. His brother Derek is still waiting. His girlfriend Alexis is still waiting. And now in March 2026, for the first time in years, investigators and researchers are saying something feels different. If you have any information about Brian Shaffer, please contact the Columbus Division of Police at 614-645-4545 or Central Ohio Crime Stoppers anonymously at 614-461-8477. The case is 20 years old, but somewhere out there, someone knows what happened inside the ugly tuna saloon on the night of March 31st, 2006. That person has lived with this for 20 years. If that person is watching this, I want you to hear something. It is not too late. Subscribe to Case File Unknown. Every week we open a new file. Every week we keep the search alive. The file stays open.